Mowing height directly affects green speed like no other attribute. Having the right equipment is key to maintaining the desired mowing height. There are triplexes and walk mowers, fixed and floating heads. Some units have groomers and brushes attached. All these attachments add weight. The angle that the reels meet the bed knives vary by manufacturer. All these factors affect the actual mowing height. This is why the reality of bench setting versus a prism gauge reading is increasingly an important part of the conversation. So with the broad selection of equipment available on the market today, it's very hard to answer the question, what is the best mowing height? Having a prism gauge is really the only way to get some consistency when comparing one club's desired mowing height to another. In terms of bench settings, the numbers most frequently tossed around vary from 0.08 to 125 in the growing season and from 150 to 200 when greens are dormant. Ultimately, mowing height is something that you have to figure out based on what works best for your club and, most importantly, your club's players. I can tell you, regardless of the height your club chooses, you will not be disappointed. Golf club management and players alike absolutely love putting on MiniVerde greens and find it provides the truest and most consistent putting surface available all year long.
It's February the 1st on a Saturday morning, kind of cloudy in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm standing here on our 14th green, which is one of our greens that are original 100-year-old greens that were built in 1910. And I'd like to show you something about prism gauges and talk about mowing heights. Bench settings are really not that relevant. I mean, they're just a guideline about how high your particular brand of mower is mowing, the aggressiveness and how low mowers actually mow. What we call the actual height of cut in the field is different from mower to mower, and it's been that way forever. People just haven't realized it or never paid much attention to it. In the 70s, the early 70s, we noticed that between brands that you could get actual difference height of cut with the same bench settings, and then things came out on the market like prism gauges, which made it a little bit easier to tell. And I'm going to show you right here, we have a prism gauge that is one of the original ones made by Czech Signature, and I will show you just the difference between, if we can see this, between bench setting and actual height of cut. It shows up pretty good in the winter because your rate of growth is 0 right now, and your actual height of cut becomes what I like to refer to as absolute, because there's no growth in between mowings, and your mower's going to cut as low as it possibly can at that giving bench setting. This we're going to zoom in and see if we can see this. This height of cut here on this Czech Signature, I don't know if you can see the little orange T I have there. It's sitting just below 200 thousandths, and then the next line below the T is 1/10 of an inch or 100 thousandths. And you can see this green is reading about 1/10 of an inch. It's a really good indicator. This prism gauge is really reading about 1/10 of an inch on this. On the actual height of cut is about 1/10 of an inch. Now my mower, these greens were not mowed today, and my mower was set yesterday at 200 thousandths. So what we have here is a clear indication that we're cutting about 100 thousandths of an inch lower than my actual bench setting on my mower. Now, that mower that we use is always cut really low, and it cuts a little lower than it used to because we switched out the reel on it and went to a 14-bladed reel, which weighs 5 pounds more. There are a lot of things that influence how low a mower actually mows. I think the most critical component would be the geometry of the bed knife and the position in relationship to the center point of the reel. The next most important thing would probably be the weight of the mower, the down pressure, and then probably third would be the roller configuration whether you're using sectional grooves or solid rollers. But if you're not really sure what your mower, how aggressive it is, there's all kind of ways you can compare. You can start with the prism gauge, which is really a rough, I like to call it a rough guide. It's really not as accurate as some people think, because it's really hard to tell. You can tell the difference in 50 thousandths of an inch or maybe 25 thousandths of an inch on a prism gauge, but it gets hard to read when you start trying to discern between 10 thousandths and 5 thousandths of an inch in the actual height of cut. So the best way to determine when you get down to very, very small differences in mowers is to do some test strips. Like if you were going to test a mower against another mower, set them up at the same height, start here kind of on the back end of the green and measure off a defined strip distance from the back of the green to the front of the green, and you would go down and mark off a spot so you have two identical lengths of travel, and you run a strip with one mower and a strip with the other mower, and you catch the clippings in the basket and you weigh the clippings. And you have to have a very accurate weigh scale. You have to have one, we have one that measures in grams and ounces, and it's a digital scale and it's very accurate. But clipping yield is the best determining method to tell you how aggressive each mower is mowing. So when you get down, you can get it pretty roughed in with this prism gauge here, but actually you have to mow some strips with it after the green has grown. You have to give it at least a day's worth of growth, and these things cannot be measured very accurately at all unless the grass is growing. Right now, with no growth on the grass, you would have to really get lucky because between mowings you're not getting any growth, and that you're going to have some clipping being produced to actually accurately measure your mower height. But just wanted to show you the difference between the bench setting and the actual height of cut. And right here it's 100 thousandths difference between, because this mower yesterday went out and it was set at 200 thousandths and had no brush or groomer running on it. And you can see from this line here, it's really close to 100 thousandths reading. So once again, you just have to test your mowers and find out which ones are aggressive and which ones aren't.